Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, part of the Furniture with me, Daniel. It's season 14, episode 6, and today we're back for the final game of a bumper January schedule before we go through transfer deadline day, hoping to get a good deal or two over the line. We've already made one big purchase in January this year, and we've had a pretty decent month in truth, although we are struggling a little bit with injuries, and we're trying to cling on to our place in the top end of the table now. It's very tight up there, as you can see. City down on 34 points, just 10 points separate them in 10th place, and even Southampton one behind them, with Manchester United in 3rd. The top two have run away with their respective positions, and the rest of us are just fighting for the other 4 places. So I'm kind of hoping we'll qualify for the Europa League, mainly because if we go straight into the Champions League, it will be a step too far too soon. I'd like to do it gradually with at least 1 year in the Europa League before making it into the top 4. But we certainly won't complain if we finish there. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, but I don't think we're going to be consistent enough yet. You can see we're still one of the top scorers in the division, and we're still not quite as good at the back. But let's go and have a look at our transfer history first to see the big signing of the window so far. We've got loads of players unhappy who are trying to leave the club, and one who potentially is, despite not being unhappy. James Hayes to Bournemouth. They've offered £30 million up front, rising to 42, and he's a decent Premier League player, but he's not much more than that, and I really don't know if we can turn that bid down. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. I've delayed it until deadline day so I can think about it a bit more. Both holding midfielders, Bakanez and Vladimir, very unhappy and want to leave. Talasise's not best pleased either, neither is Badger in goal. All of them attracting interest from plenty of top clubs, and it's going to lead to a very difficult final 3 days of the transfer window as we try to hold on to the ones we need. But if we go and look at our transfer history, we've got the 2 signings that we pre-agreed at the start of the month, plus one big money one from Reading, a championship side for £26 million. You might be asking what on earth I'm doing, but I can assure you it's a good deal overall as we look to take the club forward in the future. One of the players we signed, Montano, he's gone on loan to Lazio for the year, so I'll wait and see what his progress is like there. But let's go and focus on Tom Iversen, a brilliant young centre-half. He's a wonder kid at 20 years of age, a Norwegian international, and he's come in and performed absolutely brilliantly. Already started 4 league games, got an assist and a brilliant average rating, well above 7.5 and the best in the team at the moment. You can see apart from his heading attribute, everything's absolutely brilliant. Mentally he's really good for a young player, physically he's brilliant across the board, he's exceptional in the tackle and a good marker. It is just that heading attribute, but he's got a good jumping reach so he still wins the headers, and at 6'4" that doesn't really concern me. So I think he's going to be a superstar. He's already stepped into our first team as our best centre half. He's playing alongside Recchio at the moment. He came just as Lucas Badger got injured, and he's never been able to get his place back in the team as this lad's performing so well. But let's go and have a look at the schedule to see what's been happening since you were last with me. I just didn't want any spoilers in terms of names of the signings, as Everson's obviously played a few games already. You were with me for that 4-1 defeat against Chelsea. That was the last game of the previous calendar year. I've no idea how we lost it by 3, as we were really good in that game. We performed pretty well and matched them across the pitch, but Chelsea were scoring screamers all over the place. In January, however, we are unbeaten so far. There have been a few draws in there though, but that's understandable given the amount of injuries we've got and the fact that Omar's on international duty with Brazil. But our first game on New Year's Day was at Burnley, a boring 0-0 draw. We did well at the back and held our own, but we never looked like winning the game. Then at home to Doncaster in the FA Cup, Goretzka gets a late second after Gonzalez opened the scoring. A really solid performance across the board, and we were comfortably into the 4th round. Then what at the time was the best result of the series so far, a thumping 4-0 win at home to Tottenham. We were absolutely exceptional in this game. Julian got a brace, including one in stoppage time, with Lappin and Air making it 3-0 at the break. A really brilliant performance from everyone there. Then a narrow but comfortable 1-0 win at home to Brighton. Alvaro Gonzalez got the goal from the right wing. Hernan Air, you may have noticed, got a knock in the game before, so Gonzalez has been in the team ever since. McGregor got an injury in that one, so we're a little bit short in certain areas, particularly in central midfield and out wide, where we've got injuries all over the place. Then after that came the new best result of the series so far, a 3-1 win away to Manchester City. I've got to show you the match stats from this one. We FM'd Manchester City. They absolutely wiped the floor with us. 30 shots, 14 on target, 3 clear-cut chances to our 1. We only had 5 shots all game and scored with every shot on target we had. A really clinical performance by the boys, and Lee Rutherford turned up with a hat-trick as Julian was ineligible to play against his former club. But then disappointment in the FA Cup 4th round, a 3-3 draw away to Wolves. There were all sorts of emotions in this one. We were 2-0 up with 2 minutes to the break. Wolves came back and nicked it in the 91st minute, or at least they thought they did at 3-2 up. But Julian in the 94th minute got us back on level terms and has kept our FA Cup dream alive as we earn a replay next week. Then at home to Everton in the league, we dominated the game with both 11 men and 10. We didn't even make any substitutions as we were that pleased with how we were playing, but it was 1-1 in the end. Dimitri Lappin getting the equaliser, but otherwise it was a pretty average performance. So we go away to Newcastle today, who are struggling in the bottom half of the league and currently occupy the last relegation place. Obviously it's a club we know very well. We managed them in our Christmas series from FM19 Touch, and we had a stint with them in the head coach, our journeyman series as well. So we do know the club quite well, and we've become quite fond of them on the channel, but that's not going to stop us wanting to win today. So we're going to go and get into this game, and then we'll have a little roundup from transfer deadline day, where I'm hoping we'll have 1 or 2 more signings. But let's go and get into the match and find out our lineup for this one. Newcastle slight favourites despite the fact that we're miles above them in the league. It seems like it's based on reputation. Newcastle in inconsistent form, though we have gone 2 games without a win ourselves now, so it is going to be a little bit tricky for us to get back to winning ways. We're still missing Omar and Hayes in central midfield. Hernanes out on the right wing, but we have got McGregor back on the bench. He at least provides a little bit of cover where we've been so short in previous games. So we've got Badger in goal, Quirk and Irwin are the fullbacks with Recchio and Everson in the middle. Then Bacanes in the holding role with Lappin and Ramos in central midfield. They're the only 2 fit, which is why they're starting. Then Gonzalez on the right and Kozol on the left, with Julian up front on his own. So let's go and get into the game. We have still got the game changers on the bench with the likes of Rutherford, but we're a little bit short in attacking areas aside from that, with McGregor not back to full fitness yet. But fingers crossed we'll be able to do enough to get a result. Our away form has been pretty sketchy though, aside from that brilliant result at City. It's a 4-2-3-1 for Newcastle, a couple of familiar names in the team. Most of all is Hernandez the left back, a brilliant young player in real life. And then at centre half they've got Bain. He's a player that we tried to sign in the summer. Our director of football put in a bid for him, probably just as a backup centre half, but in the end it didn't get across the line. He wanted far too much money. But let's go and talk to the lads and encourage them to do well. I noticed they've got Cameron Scorer up front, another player that we'd scouted in the past. One of our chief scouts highlighted him, and he was someone on our radar for a while, but in the end we got Lee Rutherford, and we've since got Julian as well. It's Gonzalez on the right hand side as we come forward immediately, but it's cleared out for a throw on our right hand side, and we're going to continue the highlight with Quirk. It ends just before the throw in though, and with 5 minutes gone it's goalless at St James's. It's a free kick for Ramos, 20 minutes with no real highlights, a brilliant save force from the keeper, Ramos with a fantastic free kick, but with 20 minutes gone it's still 0-0 and we've really not seen anything in this match yet. We've dropped to a balanced mentality as we're getting overrun in possession, and it seems to have worked in previous games against higher quality opposition, so let's give it a go today and see if it can get us the result. We're back with a Newcastle free kick halfway in our half, and I can see that Dimitri Lappin's picked up a knock. That's a worry with no other midfielders fit. We've really got to think about what we're going to do here. It's sprained wrist ligaments, so he should get through the game, but we could be in a bit of trouble for the FA Cup tie. Kozol at the back post from the cross, and he's headed away as far as Bacanes. He brings it down to Lonergan Irwin, overlapping on the left hand side. His cross is deflected out to Lappin, and Bacanes can build again. Plays a 1-2 with Ramos and now Lappin. Into Julian the striker, holds it up for Ramos, and Irwin's running on the left. There's 2 in the middle, but his cross is poor, and luckily it deflects back to him. He does well the second time to win a free kick, and the highlight ends before we get to see it. Quirk with a delivery from a long throw. We're starting to get on top now in terms of chances. Everson, the centre half, was up for the throw, but he's been challenged in the wide area, and he's out for a throw in which we're not going to see. 10 minutes to the break, it's still 0-0, and we're just going to put on a couple of tactical instructions. As we do that, Badger's come out for a corner. He's gone nowhere near it at all. Caught in no man's land, and Scorer heads it in. Newcastle lead 1-0, and it's really been a poor performance so far. are. If we want to finish in the top 6, we can't afford to lose to relegation sides. Badger with the goal kick to Quirk. He comes forward on the right hand side to Baccanes. And this is the problem this month. As well as having a few players out injured, a lot of them are starting to get unhappy as they've had their heads turned by other clubs, and it's showing in the performances so far. A few of them really not doing their best. Ramos with a free kick just wide of the post, and he's out for a goal kick. Newcastle still lead. There's the 2 minutes of stoppage time up. Newcastle lead 1-0 at the break. A really terrible performance, and we're going to really dig into the lads. I've not seen much worse from them this season, and hopefully they'll respond in the second half. It's Bain at centre half for Newcastle as they play the ball along the back. It remains 1-0 to Newcastle, and we're yet to see a highlight in the second half. Is a corner for Kozzel to take an in-swinging delivery for Torquay. Falls out to the edge of the box to Gonzalez. Deflects to Mon Everson, the centre half. His shot's blocked. It was heading goal bound, but it's out for a throw-in on the Torquay left. Lonergan Irwin to deliver the long throw. Everson flicks it down. It's gone back to Irwin again. It falls for Ramos in the box. Brilliant save by the Newcastle keeper, and it's hacked away to scorer. Now Newcastle have got a 4-on-4 on the break, but it's a good defensive tackle from Quirk, and it's out for a throw-in on the Newcastle left. The highlight ends, and with 25 minutes to go, we're going to have to think about changes as Lappin's struggling for fitness and a few other players have been poor. You can see Badger's not having a good game. He's obviously been attributed to the goal. It was a terrible mistake by him, but he has only made a few this year, so we will forgive him on this occasion. Again though, he's had his head turned and he's unhappy at the moment, and it's showing in his performance, which is a good thing because those clubs won't be interested for long, but it doesn't help us in the meantime. Vladimir's going to have to come on in central midfield. We don't have any options to play anyone more defensively. I'm just seeing who's best out of him and Baccanes in the more advanced role. It doesn't really make any difference, so Vladimir will stay in there. He'll be a Mazzala on support. Julian's had a poor game again, had a little bit of a poor run recently. Lee Rutherford comes on up front, and we'll give it 5 more minutes before bringing on McGregor. He's the last sub we want to make. We've got to make attacking changes to get back into the game, and McGregor's the only one of those left available. 15 to go, no further highlights, so we will change the winger now. Kozzel's going to be replaced by McGregor, and we're just going to hope it makes a bit of difference. Exactly the same role and duty, just a slightly different name. Just 5 to go now. There's still nothing happening, so we're going to go very attacking. I'm not sure it'll make a difference at this late stage, but we've got to throw everything at it. We're ruining our chance at Champions League football and possibly even Europa League football too. We've got to get in Europe for the first time, and we can't afford to lose to sides like this. Recchio forces a save from the keeper, but Newcastle get it away comfortably. 2 minutes plus stoppage time to go, and they've now brought on that striker, the one that went to Leicester earlier in the series, who we tried to sign a few years back. Into stoppage time, how many minutes will there be for Newcastle to hold on? It's 4 to go, and it doesn't look like we're going to get any joy. Lonergan Irwin with a long throw on the left. We're a minute and a half into stoppage time now. McGregor gets the ball to Recchio on halfway, and we can start to build again. Irwin into the box. It's Gonzalez at the back stick. He's put it in the back of the net. A brilliant finish, Alvaro Gonzalez, and we've nicked a point on the road. We can't say it hasn't been deserved. We've just about edged this game in terms of chances. We've not had as much possession, but a point is all that matters. We've got injuries and players that are unhappy, so if we can keep nicking points, I'll be a happy man. Bain gets the ball back to Mohamed, the keeper, and now Newcastle are playing it around at the back. Could we possibly nick a winger here? They go long downfield, probably the sensible option to avoid a disaster. Scorer's got it on the left though. Newcastle coming forward now. It's an end-to-end last few minutes. What a game it's turned into at the death. We're back with a free kick, just 15 seconds to go. Are we going to steal it in the last kick of the game? Ramos gets it to McGregor, and I think that's just about going to be it. The lads aren't showing any urgency. Ramos is challenged, it's out for a throw, and that will surely be the final whistle. I don't think we're going to get to see any more. Lonergan Irwin's got a chance to throw it in, but I don't think we're going to get a chance to attack, are we? Everson loses out in the air, and it falls for Vladimir 30 yards out. He goes wide to Lonergan Irwin. We're still playing here, it's out for a corner, but the final whistle does go before we can take it. A 1-1 draw, a disappointing result, but in the circumstances we'll certainly take it with a last gasp 92nd minute equaliser. Gonzalez has scored quite a few this year. He's really been a useful player for us. We're proud of the lads for salvaging a draw, and hopefully a few of them will get their heads down after the transfer window, stop being unhappy and get on with the football. We stay in 3rd place, but we've played more games than everyone else. We've got to be aiming for 6th or higher now. It is going to be difficult with the other teams challenging though. Let's go and see what the media have said about the game. We rescue a late draw. It's a pretty accurate assumption. It was just an individual error from Badger which cost us the 3 points, but Alvaro Gonzalez with another brilliant goal. He's 4th in the league this season and he's got a couple of others in the cups as well. Dimitri Lapin's out for 8 to 10 days. He's going to miss the FA Cup replay, but we should have James Hayes back for that one, or his replacement if we choose to sell him. We've also got Probert out on loan, don't forget, but he is benefiting from first team football, so we don't want to recall him if we can avoid it. We'll deal with the press conference off camera and we'll be back in a couple of days' time on the Monday for transfer deadline day to see if we've got any more big news. Okay, we're back on transfer deadline day and it's been one of the most frustrating days of this career so far. We've now reached the end of the day. We've got a roundup of the transfer window. The long and short of it is we haven't done a great deal today, apart from make half of our squad unhappy. We tried to sign loads of players and every single one of them fell through for one reason or another. So some players rejected us for other clubs, some decided that they didn't want to join us for the money we could offer, and some of them we couldn't afford in the end. It did mean we weren't able to sell the likes of Hayes, as well as others we would have liked to have got rid of, especially for the sorts of sums we were being offered, but unfortunately we needed the players in the squad to compete at the top end of the Premier League this year. But if we go and have a quick look at the squad, just to summarise all the people that are unhappy, we've got both goalkeepers at the moment. Badger's not happy. He says if we don't get into the Champions League this year, he's going to leave the club. Stevie Maxwell's unhappy we didn't sell him. Vladimir's unhappy we didn't sell him. Bacanes has retreated his unhappiness, but he still won't sign a new deal at the moment, and it's only because Chelsea ended their interest, otherwise he would have still been sulking. So a slight bit of good news there, but plenty of players who still want to go. Talassi say we got a massive offer for, but we couldn't accept it as we had no one else available at the club. Dimitri Lapin had a complaint to us as well, as we rejected an offer from Tottenham, and then Mon Everson picked up an injury for 3 weeks, so we're going to be missing him for the next couple of games too. So not much news in terms of transfers, but a disastrous day nonetheless. If I just take you quickly to the transfer screen, just so you can see some of the names we lost out on. Keston Williams was the main one in defence. He was a good left back at Real Sociedad, had a 21.5 million release clause, but we couldn't get that over the line without selling someone else, and we couldn't get rid of either of the left backs, and we couldn't afford to let someone else in the squad go. We were hoping we could sign a central midfielder for 11 million, then with Hayes going for 30 we could have done this one, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. The midfielder we were looking at was Madi Keita. Let me just go and bring up his screen for you quickly, as he's a really good player at Leganes in Spain on 47,000 a week, and he rejected the chance to join us for 90 grand a week because he wanted to earn 110. I don't quite get how that makes sense. A brilliant central midfielder, and now he's going to be stuck in mid-table in Spain because he didn't want to come and play in the Premier League. That's the deal that would have allowed Hayes to go, but it wasn't to be, so we continue with the squad we have, and hopefully most of them will snap out of their unhappiness as soon as the club stop being interested in them. With the transfer window finishing now, I'm hoping that'll be sooner rather than later. But let's go to the schedule screen to see when we'll next be back. We want to leave it a little while before we get our youth intake, and then we've got a massive game coming up in March, or 2 in a row in fact, either side of the international break. Watford at home, who are currently in 7th, just 3 points below us, and then United, who are 3rd, just 3 points above us after that. So one of those 2 games will feature in the next episode, as well as our brand new youth intake. I'm hoping for an absolute superstar this year, so we don't have to keep worrying about transfers. But if you did enjoy this episode and that last gasp equaliser against Newcastle, please do put a thumbs up on the video, even if it's just because you like to see the whole squad unhappy and starting to turn against me after 14 years. I don't mind. If that's what you find entertaining, then I haven't got any problems at all. Let me know in the comments what you thought of our performance. I think it showed that a few players were unhappy, and we have got to remember we've got a lot of injuries at the moment, so we can't expect too much from the lads, as the same 14 or 15 players are playing in every single game at present. Let me know as well if you think we can hold on for a top 6 place in the league, or can we do it in the FA Cup? We've got a replay coming up against Wolves, of course, and then the winners play at home to Arsenal. Although that's the most difficult tie we could have asked for, if we do win it we can't play them in the final again, so that's the one positive to take from it. I'll leave you with the table so you can make your judgment. Do you think we're going to get in the top 6? last 6. Even the top 7 looks difficult at this rate, as all the other clubs have spent big on their squads. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories, this one with Torquay United and our Journeyman series The Head Coach. We're on a bit of a European adventure in that one. We're at our 3rd different club in 3 years, trying to win trophies across the continent, so do go and catch up with that one if you're not up to date with the series. There's also 3 episodes a week from my Cricket 19 career, every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at midday, and we've also done a 10-part Ashes Test playthrough from that game, and a massive thank you to all of you that have supported those series. Last but not least, we'll be continuing our Snooker 19 career every Friday at 4:30, but a massive thanks for watching this one and your continued support with the series. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time for another big episode and hopefully a very special youth intake.